Hey Astro Lover, welcome back to I Talk to Planets. It's your favorite planet channeler, Claire Gallagher. I'm so glad to have you with me today. So I have a surprise for you today. Today I'm going to offer part one of a series that I'm going to run through probably the rest of the year. It might bleed into next year a little bit. There will be a few interviews, some guest episodes to break things up. But the series is all about how to build a planet-powered business. Yes, astrology is the number one tool I use to run my business, and I want to show you how to do it as well. So whether you are a business owner or a hopeful business owner, this podcast series is going to show you everything you need to do and everything you need to look at in your astrology chart to start a really great business that feels like home, that feels like you. My aim in this series is to help all of us build businesses that are both profitable and pleasurable using your astrology chart and my signature planet channeling process. Okay, so why would you want a planet-powered business in the first place? Why does it matter? Why do we care? Well, when you align your business with your astrology chart, it feels natural. It is something that feels like home because it matches your innate gifts, your strengths, and your desires. It also takes less time and less effort. Now, let's be real. Building a business is work. Running a business is work. But if you understand your chart, it's like a shortcut to success because you have a clear map of what will work and what probably won't, so you won't have to waste your time. The other great thing about having a planet-powered business is timing, because astrology excels at telling you when are opportune times to grow, when are opportune times to build behind the scenes, when are opportune times to collaborate. All of that can come from astrological timing techniques, whether that's annual perfections or transits or progressions or whatever your cup of tea is. Now, when I say planet-powered business, I also mean a business that is fueled by my planet channeling practice, which, if you don't know, is a journaling and visualization practice that turns your planets into a group of expert business coaches. It's pretty incredible. If you haven't started planet channeling yet, I have a free webinar all about it on my website. You can access it at astrologywithclaire.com/clarity. When you learn to planet channel and you view your planets as business coaches that are experts in your business and they are itching to help you, you can get expert business advice anytime you want at no cost. This series is going to be broken up into 3 phases, and these are the phases of my signature framework to build a planet-powered business. And there's going to be several episodes within each phase, but I just want to give us a high-level overview of where we're going first. So phase 1 is to clarify, and it's exactly what it sounds like, clarifying what you do, why you do it, who you do it for, and how you do it. If you skip phase 1, you're going to have to do what I've done a bazillion times, so it's not the end of the world, but you're going to have to start over and over again until you figure out something that sticks. So it's real trial and error if you don't take time to clarify your business before you do the other phases. If you don't clarify your business, you're going to have nothing for phase 2 and 3. And phase 2 is codify and phase 3 is amplify. So if you don't clarify, there's nothing to codify and there's nothing to amplify. So we all have to start at phase 1. Phase 2 of my framework is to codify. So this is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of the Saturn part of the structure, and it's all about structure. It's all about systems. It's all about planning and organization. If you skip phase 2, you are going to rush towards burnout. And not only that, you're going to reach burnout before you even get to grow your business to a degree where it actually supports you. So we have to do the boring behind the scenes work first before we grow and amplify the business, which is phase 3. Phase 3 is to amplify. And when most people think about growing a business, starting a business, running a business, they run straight to amplify. They run straight to social media. They run straight to marketing. But that's not your business. That's some tools that you can use later on. So phase 3, after you've clarified, after you've codified, is to amplify. And this phase and these episodes will be all about business growth, marketing, hiring, and collaboration. Now, if you just clarify and codify and you skip amplify, you have a hobby, not a business. You're going to need a couple things for this series. The first thing is a copy of your birth chart. And if you have one, and you may not, but if you have one, a copy of your business chart. I do have a blog post and another episode all about figuring out how to cast an astrology chart for your business. It's called How to Get Creative Direction from Your Project's Birth Chart if you're looking through the old podcast episodes, but I'll also link the blog post below. You're also going to need a basic understanding of planet channeling because, yes, this series is built around the technical pieces of astrology, but it's also like the blanks that you need to fill in, the to-dos and the how-tos are going to come from your connection with your planets through the planet channeling practice. And again, you can get a free webinar on planet channeling at astrologywithclaire.com/clarity. Okay, let's dive into a little bit more around phase 1, which is clarify. And when I say that, I mean clarifying what you do in your business, why you do it, who you do it for, and how you do it. So you probably have a pretty good idea of what you want to do. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on that today. However, I do want to mention that this is going to be indicated by multiple factors in your astrology chart. There's going to be a lot of different things in your astrology chart that point to what you want to do, what you're good at, what you're skilled at. And we can't really go through all of that in a podcast. That's what like a one-on-one session is for. But there are a few places you can begin to look. Like if you have no idea, there are a few good places to begin to look to get an idea of what you're suited for. We're going to go through those today. I just want you to keep in mind that the things we go through today in the astrology chart are not the only things that would indicate what you could do with your business. We're going to talk about who you do your business for in a future episode, but mostly what we're going to talk about today is why you do it and how you do it. There are 3 major points/planets that define the basics of your business. And that's going to be your sun, your midheaven degree, and the planet that rules your midheaven. We're going to go through them one by one, so don't worry about jotting that down or rushing through that. We're going to slow it down and dive deep. So let's start with the sun. I like to think of the sun as the founder or president of your business. Now, we could make an argument that this is only true for people born during the day, and that people born at night would maybe look to the moon as their founder or president. But I digress. That's like a whole argument within the astrological community. But if you do have a night chart, so the sun is below the horizon when you were born on your chart, so draw a line from the ascendant to the descendant. If the sun is below that line, you have a night chart. You might want to look to the moon as your why, as your president. Now, the luminary that you choose, whether the sun or moon, describes your business purpose. It's not necessarily what you do, but it describes why you do it. So it's the overall vision holder of the business. Let's go through a few examples to kind of iron out the kinks here. Let's pretend your sun is in Pisces, okay? And this could be your personal birth chart, your personal sun in Pisces, or it could be the business sun in Pisces if you're working with 2 different charts. So maybe a greater why, if you have the sun in Pisces, the greater why for your business might be to be connected to intuition, to be creative for the sake of creativity itself, or to be an offering or avenue for compassion. What about the sun in Virgo? So this is me. So this might be to be of service, very similar to the sun in Pisces, but a little bit different. Sun in Virgo might also be really compelled to do their thing because they love to create clarity and they love to create organization out of chaos. Or maybe they just want to make things better. That's something that Virgo can do. And how about the sun in Aries? So a greater why for a sun in Aries business might be to be a trailblazer, to be a leader, or to carve a totally new path in an industry. The next part of your chart that is essential, I would say more important than the sun for sure. The essential business placement in your chart is the midheaven point. Now, to be clear, this is not a planet. This is a point, and it's usually indicated by the letters MC, and it's going to be in the top of your chart. The midheaven is the most visible part of the chart. It's the place where the sun is highest or was highest on the day of your birth. And because of that symbolism, it's correlated with what you're known for, your public life or your career. Now, when you're using whole sign houses, which is the house system that I use and recommend, the midheaven can be in houses other than the 10th house. So it might be in the 9th, it might be in the 11th. So make sure you give it a check. Now, your midheaven degree is going to be in a certain zodiac sign, and that zodiac sign will be correlated with a certain element: fire, air, earth, or water. Now, the element of your midheaven point is going to describe some of the strengths and resources that you bring into your business. Now, there's another part of a zodiac sign, and that's the mode, right? Cardinal, fixed, or mutable. And I like to think of this literally as the mode of operation or how you tend to operate in your business. It can also describe professional pathways and like the story of your career. It'll make more sense when we get into the examples. So first thing you need to do is find your midheaven degree and determine which zodiac sign it is in. And then you need to know like what element is that zodiac sign and what mode is that zodiac sign. Here's a few examples. Let's pretend you have the midheaven in Cancer. Cancer is a water sign and it's a cardinal sign, cardinal water. So if water describes some of the strengths and resources that you would bring into the business, they're going to be Cancer strengths and resources. So think about Cancer keywords like sensitivity or emotional intelligence, or maybe a natural bent towards healing professions. Perhaps you're really receptive and warm and people just love to be around you because you feel so safe. Maybe you're very flexible. Maybe you're really creative. These are all water words. But cardinal describes kind of how you would act in this business. Now, cardinal signs, not just water, but any cardinal sign, so Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, like the challenge of a goal usually. They really like to push it at work. Yes, even Cancer. They tend to be really great at initiating new projects, not necessarily great at finishing them, but they're great at starting them. Let's pretend you have the midheaven in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is an air sign and it is fixed in modality. So we would think about Aquarian strengths and resources that you bring to the business. So any air sign is going to excel at communication, but Aquarius specifically is going to excel at innovation, unique ideas, and it's going to have a special way of communicating those ideas to a community. Now, the fixed nature of Aquarius is going to describe, again, maybe your career path and how you experience it over time. So people with a fixed midheaven, so this is going to be Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo, are a little slower to get going sometimes, but once they do, they can go the distance. They are really consistent and very reliable. They're good at implementing the task. Let's do another air sign. How about midheaven in Libra? This is my midheaven. So this is an air sign and it is cardinal. So Aquarius was fixed, Libra is cardinal. So again, in my career, I spend a lot of time talking with people in readings. So one-on-one consultation. That's a very social air Libra sort of thing, connection. And I try to be as kind and as tactful as I can in my communication. So that diplomatic, sweet kind of Libran feel to the connection. And I also focus a lot on social content. So telling stories, sharing podcasts, making video, all of that stuff. Now, again, this is repetition, but cardinal midheavens like to be challenged at work. They like to reach for a goal. They are great at initiating new projects, not necessarily at sustaining them. And that's definitely true for me. What about the midheaven in Pisces? So Pisces is another water sign, but it's mutable in mode. So again, it's going to bring water strengths and resources to the business. So intuitive gifts, compassion, sensitivity, artistry, all of that Piscean stuff. But a mutable career tends to fluctuate a lot. There tends to be a great desire for freedom, and people with mutable midheavens are usually very adaptable. They also have a need or a desire to redo things all the time. So they're like, I was doing this and now I'm doing that, or I was showing up this way and now I'm showing up that way. So that can be really good if you have a lot of fixed energy in your chart and you need like a fresh breeze. But it can also be hard to be consistent when you have a mutable midheaven. So just knowing that about yourself can help you create systems and structures to support your mutable nature. All right, so we've talked about the midheaven point, but there is a planet in your chart that rules your midheaven. And this is like the CEO of your business. This planet steers your professional direction, and it is the planet that you want to consult first anytime you're making a business decision. Now, in order to figure out who rules your midheaven, you just need to know what planet rules each zodiac sign. So for example, my midheaven is in Libra, so my career planet is Venus because Venus rules Libra. So here's a quick rundown. Aries is ruled by Mars, Taurus is ruled by Venus, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, Cancer is ruled by the Moon, Leo is ruled by the Sun, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, Libra is ruled by Venus, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. What's next? Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, and Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. I hope I didn't forget anybody. So, the planet that is the midheaven ruler might signify certain professions that you find yourself in, but I more so like to think of this planet as how you approach your work, or this planet as defining your work ethic, the values and the beliefs and the attitudes that define how you run your business. Now, this is a little bit of overlap with the sun or the sect light. It could be the moon. That was the greater why, but the planet that rules your midheaven, your career planet, your business planet, describes really how you run your business and sometimes what your business is. Now, some of you, if you've been around astrology for a while, are probably like, okay, but what if the midheaven is in the 11th house or the 9th house? What do I do about the 10th house ruler? Here's where I land on that. And sometimes I land in different places. But I prefer to work primarily when I'm thinking about business with the midheaven ruler, not the 10th house ruler. And here's why. When we're talking about the midheaven, we're talking about the part of the chart that aspires to succeed, the part of the chart that is climbing the ladder, the part of the chart that is hungry and desiring to be recognized for its gifts, more so than the 10th. This is a place of aspiration. And when you start a business, it's usually because you're aspiring for something greater and reaching for something better. Now, maybe you have like a main gig and a side hustle. That can definitely be described by the ruler of the midheaven versus the ruler of the 10th house. So if you're advanced and you want to get really nerdy, look at both of them. For example, my midheaven ruler, Venus, it typically describes my astrology business, my consultations, whereas my 10th house ruler describes my book writing experience and my experience in the world of publishing. So you might have a similar vein where there's two paths that are happening in the chart. All right, so your midheaven ruling planet, I'm going to call it your career planet from now on. Your career planet is placed somewhere in your chart. It's in some zodiac sign and in some house. And what these are going to describe are the themes tied into your work. It's also going to describe, depending on the condition of the planet, the business story, if there's smooth sailing or if there's a lot of bumps and bruises. Let's do some examples. So let's pretend that your career planet is the moon in Scorpio in the second house. Somebody with the moon ruling their career is going to need moon things to feel fulfilled in their career. For example, they may work in a fluctuating manner, and they may want to build their business around these wax and wane fluctuations. They might work with moon type people. That could be women or wellness practitioners. Those are people described by the moon. They could work in a business that takes care of home, whether that's physical home or digital home. And they could do their work in a very lunar way, so very nourishing, very caring, where they create an experience of safety for their client. What about the Scorpio part? This is going to add an intensity and depth to the work that this person does. Now, if you are advanced in astrology, you may have picked up that the moon in Scorpio is actually in the sign of its fall. So what is this going to mean for this person? Does it mean that their career is doomed? Absolutely not. It does not mean that. But what it does point to is a problem that they're really good at solving. And we're going to talk about that in a later episode. How about the second house? So if the career planet is in the second house, it's going to describe a few underlying themes to the business. It might describe what you actually do or where you do it, or maybe just some threads that come into the business. So let's think about this. If the second house is the house of money and the career planet is in the house of money, maybe there is a financial undertone to the career. Or maybe there is a focus on helping other people make more money in their business. So there's a lot of ways that could show up. Let's do another example. How about the career planet being Saturn in Aquarius in the 9th house? So when Saturn is the career planet, it's going to need Saturn things to feel fulfilled in career. So those are going to be showing up in a practical way, being really structured in the work that you do, being measured, having a plan. Aquarius is going to contribute a new spin, maybe on an old profession. So Saturn represents old things, but Aquarius does it in a way that no one's ever done it before. So maybe this is a business that offers an innovative structure to something that is well known. The 9th house is the house of God, so it has a lot to do with spirituality, it has a lot to do with wisdom, and it has a lot to do with disseminating information on a global scale. It is also the house of astrology. So maybe this person uses astrology to create an innovative structure around their skill set, which is something that I love doing. So taking astrology and layering it on top of another skill set is really fun because you can apply astrology to anything, basically. Let's do another one. How about the career planet being Venus in Cancer in the 8th house? So Venus, as a career planet, is going to need the business to feel good. That's what Venus is all about. It's all about balance. It's all about pleasure. It's all about enjoyment. And so this person with Venus ruling the business is going to have to prioritize what lights them up in order to find success. Venus in Cancer is going to bring some Cancerian ways of being to the business. So this might be someone who, again, creates a nice bubble of safety for their clients, who's really receptive, who's a great listener, who's very sensitive, who knows what to do in emotional situations. Those are all Cancer contributions. And then how about the 8th house? So the 8th house is kind of an interesting place. It's another financial sector of the chart, but it can also describe deep transformation. So a lot of times if someone is a psychologist or a therapist or a counselor or a coach, they have their career planet in the 8th house. Or someone that works with the occult could also have their career planet in the 8th house. Let's do one more example. How about the business planet or the career planet being Jupiter in Taurus in the 11th house? So a Jupiter career needs to be uplifting, encouraging, and it needs to offer an avenue of constant growth and constant learning in order for the owner to be happy. Jupiter is also a planet of teaching, of education, and so there could be a teaching or sharing component to the work. And Jupiter is also a planet of accumulation and abundance, so there could be a focus on wealth and resources when Jupiter is the career planet as well. How about Jupiter in Taurus? So this is going to bring in a steady, practical vibe to the way the career expresses, but it's also going to describe a desire to make something that's super high quality, that's super enduring, and also that creates a sense of embodiment and settledness. Now, the career planet in the 11th house might describe a community component to the work where you might be really focused on actually growing a community of your own or connecting with other professional bodies to spread your message. Or this is the area of the chart that defines goals and hopes and aspirations. So you might be working with other people, helping them achieve their goals and aspirations. That is probably more than enough for you to get started, but I just want to kind of whet your appetite and let you know that there's a lot more where this came from. The next thing you can do if you feel like you want more is to look and see if there are any planets aspecting your midheaven degree. These planets are going to add to your business story and expression. Now, there could be several planets aspecting your midheaven degree. So when you're doing this, I highly recommend prioritizing the tightest aspects, so 3 degrees or less, and also prioritizing applying aspects. So that's when the aspect is coming together rather than coming apart. Let's do a couple, just for example. Hopefully you're not over full at this point, but let's pretend that Jupiter is opposing the midheaven degree. So this is going to bring Jupiter themes into the business story. By the way, this is also a really nice indicator of success. We always want Jupiter to aspect the midheaven, even if it's in opposition, in my opinion. So again, when Jupiter is involved, there's this constant striving for more. Jupiter is hungry. Jupiter always wants to achieve more, more, more. It also really needs to believe in the work that it's doing. So it can't just be doing anything. It has to it has to feel it right here. How about Mercury conjunct the midheaven or aspecting the midheaven at all? This is going to describe a business that needs to express. It needs to chat. It needs to connect. It needs to share ideas. It needs to network. And the core message of the business has to be crystal clear in order for it to work. What about pesky Neptune making a square to the midheaven? That would be me. There's a lot of good things that can happen here and a lot of challenging things that can happen here. Usually when Neptune is interacting with the midheaven, there's a spiritual tone to the business, which is definitely the case with my business. But it can also act like a fog machine and can make the career path a little windy, to put it in the best language, the nicest language. It can make it really confusing, to be clear. What about Saturn? So Saturn in interaction with the midheaven can describe you taking your work really seriously. You can work exceptionally hard. You might approach work in a classically organized and practical way. You need things to be really structured. And if we think about Saturn as an authority figure, that also might be something that is driving you towards success. Maybe success to you means being a thought leader in your industry, being someone that other people look up to. Now, to be fair, Saturn, being one of our malefic planets, can also represent some slow growth, some roadblocks and some challenges when it comes to business, but I think it's worth moving through these things because a Saturn business also stands the test of time. Can other planets influence your business? Absolutely. But what we went through today are the basic bones of your business structure. And just to kind of round out the conversation, if you have any planets inside the 10th house, these are definitely going to play into the career as well, because those planets have to use 10th house topics like reputation and public life and work to express themselves. Other planets that might play into the career could be planets that aspect the midheaven ruler. Remember when we talked about maybe your midheaven ruler is Venus or Jupiter? If another planet aspects that planet, it's definitely going to show up in the career expression and life as well. I want to leave you with some planet channeling prompts so you can build a rapport and open a line of communication with your midheaven ruling planet. Again, this planet is like the CEO of your business, and along with you, it is the planet or entity that is driving your professional direction. So when you're making decisions, please planet channel with this planet. So I'm going to put these prompts below, but I also want to read them out loud to you right now. Planet, and you would insert your planet's name there. Planet, how do you naturally approach running a business? Tell me about your work ethic. Now, a Venus business, a Saturn-run business, a Mars-run business, they are going to have very different approaches to doing work, and you want to ask them what those approaches are so you can get on board. Planet, what does your zodiac sign reveal about the strengths and talents you bring to my business? And finally, planet, what does your house placement reveal about the underlying themes of my business? Again, if you've never planet channeled before, I have an entire free webinar on my website all about how to get started. You can access it at astrologywithclaire.com/clarity. All right, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I certainly had a lot of fun. Next episode, we're going to dive even deeper into phase 1, which is clarify. And we're going to start talking about how to identify what your business solves, the problem that your business solves, the result that it offers, and the solution that it gives. All right, see you soon.